Liszt was one of the most prominent representatives of the New German School. He left behind an extensive and diverse body of work in which he influenced his forward-looking contemporaries and anticipated 20th century ideas and trends. He began playing the piano at 7 years old, and by 11 he was considered a prodigy. Some of his most notable contributions were the invention of the symphonic poem, developing the concept of thematic transformations as part of his experiments in musical form, and making radical departures in harmony. So I took that from Wikipedia, and I have no idea what that last sentence means. I know him because his music was in Rhapsody Rabbit, where Bugs Bunny tries to play the piano and simultaneously murder a sentient mouse. But it is something to be said that even though his name may not be as familiar as, say, Beethoven, he is ingrained in our culture. He really was the very first rock star, as odd as that may seem for somebody playing a harpsichord. Really, a rock star in every sense of the word except the word rock. But, you know, the term classical composer in the style of New German School star really doesn't have the same ring to it. So, in other ways, he was a rock star in that he had his own Live Aid concerts, which was super duper cool. He was a fantastic individual, and by the time he was in his 40s, he was playing concerts for free and putting all the money towards benefits. But what he was most well known for, and what made him truly a rock star, was that he performed. He didn't just play the music, he played the audience. He would sometimes stand in front of the seat and bang away at the keys, and his long hair would flip all around and he would sweat, and the ladies went crazy for him. They loved it. They were wearing hoop skirts and bonnets and losing their minds. They had never seen anything like this before. It was supposed to be prim and proper. They had never even seen somebody just actually walk up to the piano and make a statement doing so. And so he was able to turn these lovely corset-wearing individuals into a massive frenzy. They threw flowers at him. They threw their clothes at him. They fainted and hooted and hollered when they should have been listening quietly. This is a fantastic man, Heinrich Heine, I think. He deserves his own presentation in his own right. He was a contemporary and a poet and a fantastic guy, but the reason that he is on this slide is because he came up with a term, Lisztomania. And you can't look at that word and think, oh, well, people just really liked Franz Liszt and it was like the new shoe craze. No, doctors at the time were really concerned. Mania meant so much more back then. It was a time when, you know, hysterectomy, hysteria comes from womb. They thought that a woman's womb went all over her body and did weird stuff to her. And it's like, oh, your heart's going weird. Maybe your womb's up there being weird because you're a lady. And so they came up with a lot of really weird solutions for this, most of them involving them actually finally getting off. Hoses, I don't know, whatever. But at a time when, you know, we had these corset-wearing fainty ladies, I can understand why they would be concerned. Because they really, really were really into this guy. Like, whoa. So that's a locket that a lady wore around her neck with a clipping of Liszt's hair. That's a hairpin. That's a platter and more brooches. He had merch at a time when you had to go and hire a silversmith to make you that merch. This is a beautiful picture of his house that he lived in Berlin. And one of the stories is that a bunch of students heard he was in town and walked all the way to his house and sang his sonnets to him. It was Christmas too, which is so nice. They were the first carolers. But they would steal his gloves, they would steal his handkerchief and tear them into little bits and then like put them in lockets. There's one story of one woman that he was smoking a cigar and he threw it to the side and she fought off other ladies for it, kept it, encased it in a locket with diamonds spelling out his letters. And it was really crazy, but now we've got this. Now we've got Beatlemania and other stuff. And the point I'm trying to make here is that we look back at these girls and we're like, well, you know, they were just kids. They were, you know, sure they were crazy for them and they might have had a few people harumphing about going, oh. But really the only difference is hats. You know? I just want to say I had way too much fun photoshopping this. It's really the only difference, though, because we look at this happening now and we're like, oh, you know, this is expected. But back then they thought it was an actual illness. So how did we proceed? Now it's really expected. I just heard someone gasp because I put Beyonce up here. Like, we reach for them and, oh, maybe they'll touch us and it's totally okay to go to a concert and be like this. And it's like, oh, that's normal. That's just, you know, what we do. But, you know, in the past, we used to say, oh, that person's sick. But, you know, I look at myself and I go, I worship people. This is a list of people that I hold dearest to my heart. I love them so much. But I love them, but I really do. And it's weird, though, right? I don't have a solution for any of this. I don't entirely even understand what I'm trying to say. But I'm just trying to point out that this guy was a celebrity and people thought it was super weird. And now we're okay with it. But really, he's no different from Liberace or Freddie Mercury. So what's going on?